Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into episode 2 of Reverse, with me the series. After that day, Cleo never saw Dr. Mesa again. She searched for her everywhere, including the hospital where they had met before, but no matter how hard she looked, she couldn't find her. For months, Cleo visited every hospital, hoping to find Dr. Mesa, but her search remained fruitless. Eventually, she realized that if she truly wanted to see her again, she needed to be in the same industry as her. That meant she had to get into medical school. With determination and relentless effort, Cleo successfully gained admission to the College of Medicine. During her first year at university, she kept asking around about Dr. Mesa, wondering if anyone had ever heard of someone by that name or knew of anyone capable of traveling through time. But no one seemed to know anything about her. Meanwhile, Cleo's father disapproved of her decision. He believed that women didn't need higher education because, in the end, they would just have to quit their careers and become housewives. Cleo couldn't understand why her father was so upset and why he scolded her for pursuing her dreams. She thought that if it were her younger brother making this decision, their parents would have been overjoyed. After all, they had always favored him over her. Unwilling to endure her parents' disapproval every day, Cleo decided to move into the dormitory with her best friend Meow. During this period, Cleo joined a music band. She recorded several singing videos, and in every single one, she included a message searching for a woman named Keo Mesa. She hoped that if her videos went viral, perhaps Dr. Mesa would see them and realize that Cleo was still looking for her, still missing her. One day, her videos caught the attention of Belle and Ne, who were forming a band at the time. They invited Cleo to be their lead singer, and together, they formed The Edge of the Universe, a band inspired by the vastness of cosmic space. Later, Frang joined as the drummer. Their band quickly gained popularity, becoming a trending topic on social media. The excitement of university life and the thrill of performing helped Cleo momentarily forget about her family troubles. Throughout her university years, Cleo dedicated herself to her studies, her band, her friends, and the ongoing search for Dr. Mesa. She never forgot her. The heartbeat of that moment remained engraved in her memory, just like Dr. Mesa's warm hand and captivating voice that endlessly enchanted Cleo. Moreover, beyond just feelings, Dr. Mesa had left something behind with Cleo. Later, during her clinical years, one night as Cleo settled into a deep sleep, she dreamed of being in a dimly lit warehouse. A man had gagged her, preventing her from speaking. He then pointed a gun at her forehead, instilling intense fear. With a single thrust, he could kill her effortlessly. Opposite her stood Dr. Mesa, who made eye contact with the man threatening Cleo's life. Her usually calm face was now filled with fear and the anticipation of loss. "Put the gun down right now. Have you lost your mind? You're also a doctor," she shouted, her voice filled with anger. Instead of listening, the man behind Cleo burst into laughter and decided to end her life in front of Dr. Mesa. Terrified, Cleo jolted awake, her heart pounding with fear. She wanted it to be just a nightmare, but deep down, she knew it was a dream about the future. For many years, Cleo never forgot that nightmare and couldn't predict when it would happen or how severe the consequences would be. Every day, she tried to forget the nightmare and told herself that if it were to become a reality, it meant she would have to meet Dr. Mesa first. After all, Dr. Mesa was also in the dream and had been helping her for the second time. Therefore, she resolved to find Dr. Mesa before that event could occur. Throughout her medical student life, she asked everyone if they knew Dr. Mesa. However, as Cleo advanced in her clinical years, she had less and less time to search for Dr. Mesa. Despite her efforts, she couldn't find any information about her. Eventually, Cleo became an extern in her 6th year of medical school and began her internship at a hospital alongside Meow. One day, while walking through the hospital, Cleo suddenly spotted a doctor from behind who looked strikingly similar to Dr. Mesa. She was so taken aback that she continued to watch the doctor leave without calling out. Meow noticed her reaction and called out, snapping Cleo back to reality. Cleo quickly told Meow she had seen a doctor who looked just like Dr. Mesa. Meow was surprised. "After all these years, you're still looking for her?" Cleo replied firmly, "I never gave up. I hope one day I'll meet her again." Later, while Cleo was working, a man appeared from nowhere and grabbed her neck, causing her to panic. The doctor and the police quickly intervened and arrested the man, but the incident left Cleo terrified. Shortly after, an emergency case arrived. A truck had crashed into another vehicle carrying steel rods. Cleo gathered her composure and rushed out, where she found multiple injured people, including 2 in critical condition. There was also a woman with severe abdominal pain and a 56-year-old man with asthma. Then Dr. Eyes directed Cleo to assist the woman involved in the car accident. As Cleo quickly began her work, she noticed another female patient lying curled up in pain on the next bed. Her mother was visibly worried, and Cleo was intrigued by the case, suspecting the patient might be experiencing more severe symptoms than she let on. Cleo quickly moved the patient to the emergency room, where she found that the woman had a head injury. There was no visible bleeding, but Cleo suspected the possibility of intracranial bleeding and immediately took the patient for a CT scan. While waiting for the results, Cleo turned her attention back to the other patient, whose pain had worsened. As she approached, she recognized the woman as a former contestant from a popular TV baking show, where she had gained fame after winning the competition. Cleo was further concerned, as the woman's symptoms seemed more serious than expected. Cleo inquired about the woman's recent food intake, and the nurse informed her the symptoms had been ongoing for 3 days. Cleo suspected it might be irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, and planned to examine the patient more closely and prescribe medication. However, just as she was about to proceed, she heard a voice from behind her. Might be? The voice was sharp and authoritative. Cleo turned around and froze. There, standing before her, was Dr. Mesa. Cleo's heart skipped a beat. The person she had been searching for all these years was standing right in front of her. She couldn't believe it. Dr. Mesa addressed her coldly. How dare you confidently diagnose a patient without proper tests? Where is the doctor in charge of you? Cleo was taken aback but responded, I'm about to refer her for an X-ray. Dr. Mesa continued, and you made a diagnosis before that? Cleo fell silent, realizing that, as an extern, she still had much to learn. Dr. Mesa then proceeded to examine the patient and, while doing so, offered valuable insights about the woman's condition, teaching Cleo along the way. After the examination, Dr. Mesa called Cleo over. When Cleo approached, she addressed her with a stern tone, saying, You can call me Karen. Cleo felt a rush of emotion, but Dr. Karen scolded her for making decisions without clear judgment, referencing a past incident. Despite the scolding, Cleo couldn't help but notice the familiar warmth in Dr. Karen's voice, a tone that had once captivated her. Being professional means staying calm, no matter how patients treat you. Understand? Dr. Karen said, before walking away, as if she didn't know Cleo at all. This left Cleo deeply shaken, as she had been waiting for this moment for so long, only to see Dr. Mesa transform into someone who seemed to have no memory of her. Cleo later asked Dr. Eyes about Dr. Karen, and was told that she was known as the frozen face of the OR because she rarely smiled. Cleo hesitated and asked, Does she have a boyfriend? Both Dr. Eyes and Nurse Chai laughed at her question. From that day forward, Dr. Karen continued to act as if Cleo didn't exist. Every time they crossed paths in the hospital, it was as if the years they had shared had been erased. But Cleo wasn't ready to accept that, because deep down, she knew this wasn't the end. What will happen next? See you in the next video. Thanks you for watching.